I knew from a young age that only by being ruthless and vicious could I protect myself in this chaotic world. I was deathly ill in a dilapidated temple and missed the alms given by Miss Zhang. He searched the entire city to save me as I lay on the brink of death. I swore to protect him for the rest of my life. A poor scholar, hoping to marry into wealth and power, falsely claimed to be having an affair with the young miss. The miss could only cry and protest her innocence. I looked at the scholar and sighed. Isn't it good to be alive? His eyes suddenly lit up. With a flick of his fan, he struck a pose in unrestrained elegance. He followed my steps, and when we reached a dark alley, he began to brazenly touch my face. Miss Zhang is truly a national beauty. Even the maid by her side is exceptionally attractive. I've been dying for a taste. The main story begins now. I quietly went to Scholar Zhang's residence and asked him to meet. My lady said, I began, that she doesn't understand how the young master could have such a misunderstanding. She invites you to meet and clarify things. Scholar Zhang was overjoyed. Wait until I marry Miss Zhang, and you can be my personal attendant in my chambers. I curled my lip into a smile and said nothing. After turning a corner, I stopped. I yanked a pre-hidden club from a corner and, under Scholar Zhang's terrified gaze, swung it at his face. The sound of his skull fracturing was clearly audible. The first blow drew blood, the second knocked him to the ground, never to get up again. My dog-beating club technique was as good as ever. After a few more strikes, I wasn't even flushed or out of breath. But the scholar was no longer breathing. The master, supporting his wife, peered out from the back door. The madam trembled. He's dead? Choeui, isn't this going too far? I took out a handkerchief to wipe my hand where he had touched it. Feeling a wave of nausea, with my head bowed, I said respectfully, Madam, rumors are a terrifying thing. A woman's reputation is as precious as her life. By spreading such rumors about the young miss, he was trying to force her to her death. Doesn't a person like that deserve to die? The young miss's wedding to the eldest son of Marquis Zhangyang is imminent. We absolutely cannot have any more gossip. After my explanation, the madam was left speechless. The master looked at me with a new, scrutinizing gaze. Having navigated the world of business, he had seen much, but he had never met a woman as ruthless and merciless as I in a matter of seconds. He had weighed the pros and cons. He ordered his men, deal with the body, don't let anyone find out. I nodded, looking at the bloody burlap sack. I sighed heavily. This fat pig is really heavy. The next morning, Scholar Zhang was found dead in a pigsty, his body covered in hoof prints from being trampled by pigs. A sow was nudging his body back and forth, and his pretty face was mauled beyond recognition. The strangest part was that Scholar Zhang's temples were completely bare, and a sow nearby was foaming at the mouth and kicking its hind legs, looking as if it were about to die. This scene terrified many people. A rumor soon spread that Scholar Zhang had been bewitched by a pig demon, mistaking the sow for Miss Zhang. Of course, my lady knew nothing of this. She lightly applied her makeup, took some silver to buy rice and flour to make steamed buns, and heard the rumors on the street. She looked up and asked me, "Is it true that there are demons who prey on the living?" I blinked, revealing my small canine teeth, and scratched my head with a smile. Someone even wrote a strange tale about it. Perhaps someone has actually seen one. You've read many books, miss. What do you think? The miss thought about it seriously, nodded, and believed it. I am the daughter of a hunter. When I was 10, my mother gave birth to my younger brother, and my parents sold me to a brothel. They told me that if I went with the embroidery mistress, I would have meat to eat every day. The madam caressed my face, saying I was adorable and that she would have to cultivate me well. After they left, the madam's smile instantly vanished, as if she were a different person. She beat and kicked me, forcing me to learn to sing and dance. When I refused, she had the other girls in the brothel join in, beating me until my skin was torn and bruised. On the busiest night at the brothel, I bolted all the doors and windows and set the place on fire. More than 20 people died in that brothel. I was born with a pitiable and innocent-looking face, and I know how to use it. During the day, I would kneel by the road, crying and begging passing gentlemen and ladies to take me in. The county magistrate's wife saw me, a pitiful child, and took me home. After my face was washed, she saw that I bore a slight resemblance to her deceased daughter. Overjoyed, she took me in as her goddaughter, giving me fine food and clothes. Just when I thought I could finally live a good life. I had my first period. The madam told me to wash myself. Then locked me in the county magistrate's room. The county magistrate stripped naked in front of me and said he wanted me to bear his child. With a swift move, I stabbed and ruined the tail of flesh between his legs. His screams were hideous. I was so annoyed that while he was clutching his groin and screaming, I slit his throat and escaped. I came to understand something. No one in this world will be good to you for no reason. And no one will truly love you but yourself. That is, until I met Miss Zhang. Zhang Wanning. She was a well-known philanthropist who would distribute steamed buns at the temple entrance on the second day of every lunar month. I survived on her buns. One rainy day, I was too sick to move and missed the alms distribution twice in a row. As I lay under the eaves waiting to die, an umbrella suddenly tilted over me, shielding me from the light rain. I haven't seen you for a few days. It turns out you're sick. Zhang Wanning was observant. When she noticed I hadn't come for buns, she knew something was wrong. She searched the entire city and finally found me. Her eyes even turned red. She brought me back to the Zhang residence to be treated, and even let me stay. Even my own parents could sell me. I didn't believe there was such a thing as a purely kind-hearted person in the world. I had long since learned to be ruthless. I wasn't afraid to stay at the Zhang residence. If she ever tried to sell me or give me to some man, I would just kill her. But almost 10 years have passed, and she is still like a blank sheet of paper, unaware of the monsters and demons in the world. She always has a pure heart and is kind to everyone. I think the master and madam have protected their precious daughter too well, leaving her ignorant of the evil in people's hearts. A decade of the same naivety. She was so naive that when a strange scholar came to their door with a supposed token of affection, she still thought he had mistaken her for someone else. Young Master Zhang, perhaps you've mistaken me for someone else. If the young lady in question found out, how sad she would be. She even offered to help the scholar find the right person. I was with the miss every day. I knew better than anyone whether she was having a secret affair with an outside man. The scholar's so-called token was just a common handkerchief that could be bought anywhere, embroidered with the character, Zhang. It was not her personal item at all. Scholar Zhang clearly wanted to marry into wealth and was using this to coerce the master into giving him his rich daughter. The miss still said I was thinking too cynically. She tapped my forehead. People are inherently good at heart. Perhaps that young lady truly looks like me. And young Master Zhang simply made a mistake. He didn't mean to cause trouble. I smiled, putting on a foolish, receptive expression. That scholar tilted his head slightly, his eyes flashing with a sinister and triumphant light. His gaze fixed on the miss. The master and madam's faces turned ashen. They scolded the scholar and threw him out. The next day, the scholar, in a desperate move, started shouting at the gate. And the matter became widely known. Rumors flew, and the miss became despondent. If the miss was driven to her death, no one would be good to me anymore. And I would have to go back to living a hard life. I had no choice but to help her solve this problem. I have always been ruthless. So getting rid of Scholar Zhang was easy. Scholar Zhang was dead, but the master and madam were still worried, afraid the rumors would reach the Marquis Zhangyang's mansion and require a difficult explanation. One day, as the miss and I were returning to the mansion after distributing alms, a servant came to report that someone from the Marquis Zhangyang's mansion had arrived. The visitor was a young woman who claimed to be the eldest young master's trusted right-hand woman. The master and madam received her, while the miss and I hid behind a screen to peek. The young woman was dressed in lavish clothes, followed by several maids, presenting a grand spectacle. She brandished the marquise's token, acting as if the eldest young master himself had arrived. Her tone was arrogant. The wedding is imminent, yet Zhang Wanning has acted improperly, having an affair with a scholar. Shouldn't Master Zhang provide an explanation? Being so bluntly accused by a young girl. The master's face turned livid with anger. He patiently explained, that was Scholar Zhang being bewitched by a pig demon. It has nothing to do with my daughter. The young woman chuckled, her eyes full of ridicule. Do you take me for a fool? This tale of a pig demon was something you could choose to believe or not. The Marquise's mansion was determined to use it to make things difficult for the miss. Why send that woman to question them instead of coming to investigate themselves? It was a clear attempt to humiliate the Zhang family and the miss. The miss lowered her head and gently tugged on my sleeve. Looking equally upset, I sighed. The miss was just too kind. A common flaw of kind people is that they are overly sentimental and most susceptible to the harsh words of others. The tongue holds a dragon's sword, killing without shedding blood. The berating words continued. I asked that Master Zhang keep a better watch on Miss Zhang. We wouldn't want her to bring any filthy diseases into the Marquise's mansion. The master was a merchant. Before the noble Marquis Zhangyang's family, he could only bow his head. His eyes blazed with anger, his fingers trembling. It is not your place, a mere servant girl, to lecture me. I patted the miss's hand, signaling her not to worry. Then, I walked out from behind the screen and said lightly, Master, the miss says she is willing to break off the engagement. As soon as my nonchalant words fell, a flash of panic crossed the young woman's face. I knew I had guessed right. This woman was a fox borrowing the tiger's might. My lady's marriage was an incredible social climb. The Marquis Zhangyang's eldest son, Song Jing, had a notorious reputation for being lecherous and cruel. No young woman from a matching family was willing to marry him. The Marquis Zhangyang's family was forcing this marriage because they valued my lady's reputation as a well-known, living bodhisattva, in the capital. Marrying her could salvage some of Song Jing's reputation. How could the Marquise's family possibly agree to break off the engagement? Feeling fearless, I said loudly, the young lady's words have been a revelation. Let's call off the wedding then. The madam's posture immediately straightened. Yes, Cho Aoi, go get the marriage certificate. We'll go break off the engagement right now. The other party's arrogance immediately deflated. Her maids kept giving her signals, and for a moment, they were all at a loss. I sneered inwardly. With such a low level of skill, she dared to call herself the eldest young master's right-hand woman? From this, it seemed Song Jing didn't have much sense either. I looked at her with a feigned smile. You're just a right-hand woman. If you mess up this marriage, you won't be able to explain yourself to the Marquis. The master realized he had almost been fooled. He immediately bellowed, Someone, see the guest out. The Marquis Zhangyang's mansion was a den of dragons and tigers. The miss would not have a good life if she married into it. Now, the master and madam placed all their hopes on me because I was bold, ruthless, and loyal enough to the miss. So, they appointed me as her dowry maid. As the miss was preparing her wedding dress, she still felt she was wronging me. I'm so sorry, Cho Aoi. I had already convinced my parents not to make you go to the Marquise's mansion with me. You're not a servant who sold herself to me, you are free. If you get bullied in the Marquise's mansion, wouldn't it be my fault? She could barely fend for herself. Yet she was still thinking of others. In my lady's eyes, I would always be that pathetic little thing, lying in the rain waiting to die, weak, pitiful, and helpless. I shook my head and recited the lines of a loyal maid. Miss, you are my savior. Wherever you go, I will go. I didn't care where I went. As long as I was with the miss, she wouldn't mistreat me, and if anyone tried to harm her, thus making my life difficult, I would not be merciful. After all, what's one worthless life like mine? On the day of the miss's wedding, the sound of gongs and drums filled the air. The neighbors all said the Zhang family had latched onto a powerful connection. Miss Zhang would become the young madam of the Marquise's mansion, destined for a life of boundless wealth and glory. The wedding was grand, but as the dragon and phoenix candles in the bridal chamber burned down to their ends, the groom had yet to step foot inside. The roomful of servants looked at each other awkwardly. The wedding chaperone tried to smooth things over for the 5th time. Young madam, please wait a little longer. Perhaps there are too many guests, and the eldest young master is busy entertaining them. I smiled. Please, didn't the guests already leave? The chaperone was instantly embarrassed. The groom's absence was actually a relief to the miss. She secretly grabbed the longans and red dates on the bed and hid them under her wedding veil to eat. I smiled helplessly. Only she would still have the appetite. Song Jing's attitude tonight would determine the miss's status in the Marquise's mansion from now on. Waiting like this was not a solution. I stood up from my chair, intending to go out and ask what was going on. Just then, the door creaked open. A maid entered, holding a rooster. The rooster had a large red flower ball tied to its chest. Looking very festive, the maid glanced at the bride on the bed and said with a fake smile, Young madam, I am Suksun. The eldest young master is busy with official matters and has no time for the bridal chamber tonight. Knowing the young madam must be lonely, He has specially sent the general to accompany you. The general she referred to was the rooster. As soon as she finished speaking, the rooster suddenly crowed, its call especially loud in the deathly quiet bridal chamber. Song Jing certainly knew how to humiliate people. The miss violently tore off her veil, her eyes welling with tears of humiliation. On the verge of crying, Suksun held her chin high, a victorious smile playing on her lips. The servants looked at each other, but no one dared to speak, nor did anyone think to go and ask the old madam to intervene. I stood to the side, as quiet as a chicken. To be honest, even the old madam couldn't be moved. Song Jing had many dalliances outside, but only his trusted confidant, Lu Shishi, had won his favor with her talent and beauty, and was brought back to the marquise's mansion. Ostensibly, she was an advisor, but everyone in the mansion knew she served him in bed. The old madam doted on her son and turned a blind eye. Given Song Jing's terrible reputation, the old madam had forced him to marry my lady. Song Jing agreed, on the condition that he would only marry her. How he treated her, be it torment or neglect, after she entered the mansion was up to him. From this, it was clear that the marquis and the old madam were no better. No one cared if the miss was happy or not, they were all playing their own selfish games. I recognized this Suksun. She was the maid who had followed Lu Shishi to the Zhang residence to intimidate them. The next day, Lu Shishi came to pay her respects. Her steps were light, like a willow swaying in the wind. Unlike the aggressive and domineering woman at the Zhang residence, today she was like a pure and harmless white lotus flower, innocent and lovely. She was about to curtsy when she suddenly let out a soft cry. Then, holding her waist, she said shyly, "It's all the young master's fault for being so wild last night. Tormenting me all evening." Her dark hair shifted, revealing a red mark on her neck. On the wedding night, Song Jing had been in Lu Shishi's room. She was eager to show off Song Jing's affection for her. She thought she had dealt the miss a harsh blow. However, the miss just frowned and asked with an innocent tone, "Are you sick?" I burst out laughing. Lu Shishi's smile froze on her face. She had been showing off for a while, but it was like playing a lute to a cow. Having witnessed a good joke so early in the morning, I was in a great mood. I suppressed my laughter and explained to the miss. Perhaps it was sleep paralysis. I've heard that after being pressed by a lecherous ghost, one looks this listless the next day. I straightened my clothes. Lu Shishi was furious, her smiling face twisting in anger. She shot a look at Suksun. Suksun understood. She pursed her lips and said mockingly, "Miss Lu, why bother with her? The eldest young master said that Miss Zhang is just a spoiled melon that has been played with by a scholar. Filthy and bukan. He told you to speak less with her, lest you lose your status." Lu Shishi shot a triumphant smile at the miss. The miss's face darkened, and she clutched her handkerchief. Looking flustered, she hurriedly explained, "It was young Master Zhang who mistook me for someone else. I don't know that scholar at all. Please don't spread such rumors. It will damage the Marquise's mansion's reputation." Lu Shishi and Suksun exchanged a glance and giggled. Suksun turned her head, her tone full of pity. No matter how poor that scholar was, he was still a top student at Bailu Academy. "Young madam, now that you've married the eldest young master, you're looking down on him? How heartless." She glanced at the miss, her eyes full of scorn. "No wonder the young master says you're fickle." Lu Shishi nodded, very pleased with her verbal sparring. "How foolish. Why do people enjoy arguing? Is it interesting? Isn't it better to just get physical?" The master and servant duo had said their piece and left satisfied. Before leaving, Lu Shishi even gave me a triumphant look back, her eyes full of provocation. When I had a free moment, I started rummaging through my personal belongings. The miss came over and asked, "Choeui, what are you looking for?" I picked up a gold hairpin and, revealing my small canine teeth, said, "Nothing. Our position in this mansion is awkward. I was thinking of going to bribe some people." The miss, without any suspicion, even gave me a lot of her private money from her dowry. I smiled and accepted it all. "I'll go and take care of things right now. Let's start with Suksun." That evening, I arranged to meet Suksun. I smiled enchantingly, the gold hairpin in my hand glittering. Suksun's eyes lit up with glee. "So you know your place." All reluctantly, she never finished her sentence. The last word was caught in her throat. The gold hairpin in my hand was already plunged into her neck. Blood gushed out instantly. The hairpin was coated with an anesthetic. so she couldn't scream, only struggle weakly, her eyes wide with terror as she watched me take out a pair of scissors and pry open her mouth. I leaned down and whispered in her ear, "Your mouth is so dirty. You shouldn't have a tongue. Should you?" I had done this many times before and was very skilled. And I hadn't wronged her. Scholar Zhang had claimed he came from the countryside to the capital for the imperial examinations and was helped by the miss, leading to a secret romance. I never said he was a student at Bailu Academy. But Suxin had revealed Scholar Zhang's background as soon as she opened her mouth. They must have been very familiar. After I was done, I pulled out the gold hairpin and wiped it clean on her skirt. Then calmly put it back in my hair bun. Very good. My hair wasn't messed up. And my clothes weren't stained with blood. Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly realized someone was there. A man was standing not far away, quietly watching me. I recognized him. He had been in the most obscure corner on the Mrs. wedding day. With little presents, the Marquise's unfavored illegitimate son, Song Ji, also the eldest young master's thorn in the side. We looked at each other for a moment. Neither of us speaking, equally calm and indifferent. I covered my face, took out a handkerchief to wipe the blood from my hands, then tilted my head and smiled at him. A picture of innocence. Before turning and leaving, I wasn't afraid of him telling anyone. Who would believe that the kind-hearted Zhang Wanning had a ruthless maid by her side? I observed for a few days, and everything was calm. The disappearance of a maid in the Marquise's mansion was not a big deal. Suxin had always been arrogant and had bullied many other servants. Not many people cared about her disappearance. Lu Shishi threw a tantrum for 2 days after not being able to find Suxin. But the position of her trusted maid was quickly filled by a flatterer. Half a month later, Suxin's body was found in the river, bloated and decomposed, her face unrecognizable. The true cause of death was well concealed. Everyone just assumed she had slipped and fallen into the water. Killing one Suxin was nothing. Lu Shishi was the real culprit. It was on the day of the Mid-Autumn Festival that the miss and I first saw Song Jing. Song Jing was dressed in a red robe, handsome and elegant, but with a hint of coldness and cruelty, the very picture of a pretty boy. He kicked open the miss's door and said coldly, "What are you dawdling for? Get in the carriage." The emperor was hosting an autumn banquet at the eastern suburban palace, and the entire Marquise's household was invited. On such an occasion, Song Jing could not bring someone without official status, he could only bring his official wife. Lu Shishi followed behind him, her eyes welling up with tears. "Young master, I've never been separated from you for so long. I want to go with you." Song Jing turned, lifted her chin, and said with a doting tone, "Wait until my mother agrees to take you as a concubine. Then I will take you every year." "My dear." Lu Shishi's tears turned to smiles. And so, they flirted right in front of the miss, slapping her in the face. The miss whispered a reminder. "Husband." Song Jing cut her off coldly. "Let's go." He mounted his horse, not sparing the miss another glance. I rode in the same carriage as the miss. Seeing her crestfallen expression, I leaned over and whispered mysteriously, "Miss, don't be unhappy. There will be a good show to watch in a couple of days." The miss was puzzled. The grand drama of the Mid-Autumn night did not take place at the palace, but at the gate of the Marquise's mansion. We returned from the palace just in time to see it. A handsome man was knocking on the Marquise's mansion gate, holding a doo-doo belly band, claiming it was left behind by Lu Shishi at the White Horse Temple and he had come to return it. Lu Shishi's public identity in the Marquise's mansion was Song Jing's confidant, a talented woman admired by the Marquise's family. Outsiders didn't know their real relationship, so it wasn't strange for a man to come to her door professing his love. The man returned the doo-doo with great affection, even saying he wanted to marry Lu Shishi. Many servants had gathered at the gate to watch. When we were together, "My lady, you specially left this doo-doo. Wasn't that a sign for me to come and marry you? This doo-doo is so thin and translucent, uniquely alluring in the entire Marquise's household. It must be yours." Lu Shishi's face turned beet red, whether from anger or shame. It was hard to tell. She was breathing heavily, her chest heaving, her fingers trembling as she pointed at him. You're spouting nonsense. I don't even know you." The man looked hurt and aggrieved. "I am an inexperienced man." That night, it was dark, and we spent the night together. "I even turned down my family's arranged marriage for you. Are you abandoning me after our fling?" That night, you even caressed my face and called me a Jing. How can you deny it now? Coincidentally, this man bore a slight resemblance to Song Jing, and even had the character, Jing, in his name. It was all very intriguing. Lu Shishi's mind was in turmoil. She desperately denied their relationship. The scholar, seeing this, looked disappointed. He threw down the doo-doo. So you have no feelings for me. You only wanted a one-night stand. In that case, I will not bother you anymore. He then turned and ran off. Song Jing, who had been listening from the side the whole time, his face growing darker and darker. He snorted angrily and started to move, intending to chase after the man. But Lu Shishi, thinking he didn't believe her, rushed over and threw herself at him. Eldest young master, believe me, I really don't know that man. With that one embrace, Song Jing missed his chance to catch up with the man. Lu Shishi was crying pitifully. I took a step forward and tilted my head. Miss Lu, you can let go now. That, young Master Jing, has gone far. And really, even if the young master is not in the mansion for a few days, and you're lonely in your chamber and want to find a man to relieve your boredom, you shouldn't have chosen a temple. And to leave behind your personal clothing, how careless. Lu Shishi turned to me and snapped. You shut up. I raised my eyebrows and turned to Song Jing to persuade him. Young master, don't be angry. Miss Lu was just confused for a moment. Perhaps she drank too much and mistook him for someone else. Otherwise, why would she have a tryst with a man who looks so much like you? It just shows that Miss Lu still likes you. Song Jing's face grew even uglier. Lu Shishi's face was deathly pale, her lips trembling as she kept shaking her head in denial. A man as arrogant as Song Jing could not tolerate such a thing. He exploded with rage and kicked her hard in the chest. That night, Song Jing did not have Lu Shishi attend to him. Instead, he went to a brothel. He spent a fortune to buy the top courtesan's first night, spending the night in her soft, fragrant embrace, not returning until dawn. I was the one who told Lu Shishi about this. The news hit her so hard that she clutched her chest and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Cursing, vile servant, I smiled and hummed a little tune as I left her courtyard. As for that top courtesan, because she served him so well, Song Jing brought her back to the Marquise's mansion as a concubine. The old madam was initially reluctant. After all, she was a woman from a brothel. But the miss stepped in to persuade her, saying that since Song Jing had already taken a primary wife, it was acceptable for him to take a concubine. And so, Yu Yinyan rose through the ranks and became Song Jing's first concubine. Lu Shishi was still nothing. The moment Lu Shishi saw Yu Yinyan, she knew she had met her match. Yu Yinyan was naturally alluring, every frown and smile was seductive. No man could resist such a worldly beauty. Song Jing spent day after day in her room, lost in pleasure. However, Lu Shishi was cunning and had many tricks up her sleeve. I never thought I could completely defeat her. Soon, she found a solution. One of her maids confessed that she loved to secretly wear Lu Shishi's doo-doo and had a tryst with a man in the temple. That night, it was pitch black, so she impersonated Lu Shishi. She knelt on the ground and kowtowed heavily. Eldest young master, it was my fault. It has nothing to do with Miss Lu. I didn't know he would come looking for me. It was all my momentary folly. Please forgive me, young master. Lu Shishi lowered her head, suppressing a sob, tears streaming down her cheeks, her face full of grievance. Young master, I was truly wronged. Now you believe me, right? Song Jing's expression softened. He reached out to Lu Shishi, his heart aching for her. Shishi, it was my fault for wrongly accusing you. Lu Shishi fell into Song Jing's embrace like a boneless creature. Crying pitifully, through her teary eyes, she shot a look at Yu Yinyan, who was standing nearby, her gaze filled with intense hatred. Yu Yinyan returned her gaze, flicked her hair back from her temples, and gave a provocative smile. The next day, Song Jing took Lu Shishi as a concubine, giving her an official title. From then on, whenever Song Jing was in Yu Yinyan's room, Lu Shishi would complain of heartache, luring Song Jing away mid-tryst. She needed Song Jing to rub her chest to feel better. Husband, that kick you gave me that day triggered an old injury. My chest hurts so much. Husband, please feel it. Half truth, half lie. She wheedled and pleaded for his affection. Song Jing was very receptive to this and genuinely felt guilty. He even summoned a famous physician to examine her. Yu Yinyan was furious, knowing it was just a ploy to compete for his favor. Whenever they met, the air crackled with tension. Lu Shishi was triumphant. The one the young master loves most is still me. You're just a new toy. When he gets tired of you, this lady will be merciful and give you to the stable boy. With the two women locked in a fierce battle, the miss and I enjoyed the peace. Lu Shishi's chest pains kept her clinging to Song Jing every night. After a while, Song Jing grew tired of her nagging, especially when he was being intimate with Yu Yinyan and a servant would come to relay Lu Shishi's message. Song Jing would fly into a rage. I'm not a doctor. Tell her to see a physician. Lu Shishi knew she couldn't keep up the act. Just then, the doctor announced that her illness could be cured. But the medicine required human blood as a catalyst. And not just anyone's blood, it had to be from someone with great merit. Lu Shishi's face turned pale. Her voice faint. The young madam is a famous living bodhisattva. But the young madam is so precious. How can she shed her blood for my humble life? Husband, forget it. It must be my fate to be short-lived. Song Jing looked coldly at the miss and ordered. Zhang Wanning, from now on, you will give a bowl of your blood every day to be brewed into medicine for Shishi. It's only half a bowl. You won't die. The miss's eyes widened in terror, her face turning ashen as she stumbled backward. Song Jing snatched a guard's sword, intending to do it himself. I quickly stepped forward to stop him. Young master, my lady did not say she was unwilling. He paused, but I added, but if the eldest young master forces her, and word gets out, people might say that concubine Lu is bullying the primary wife, which would be bad for concubine Lu's reputation. Hearing this, Lu Shishi tugged on his sleeve. Husband, Song Jing was swayed by my words. I took his dagger and led the miss back to her room. After the wooden door closed, my smile vanished. This move by Lu Shishi was brilliant. I thought her target would be Yu Yinyan, but I had underestimated her. She wanted to get rid of the miss. Only then, with the position of the primary wife vacant, would she have a chance to climb higher. The miss had always been a thorn in her side. After a while, I brought out half a bowl of blood. A blood-soaked bandage was wrapped around the miss's wrist. She was crying, her eyes red and swollen. Lu Shishi bowed deeply. Thank you so much, young madam. A triumphant smile touched her lips. Lu Shishi used the miss's blood. According to the script, she should have started getting better. But she showed no improvement, in fact. She grew sicker and sicker. I once again presented the fresh blood, obediently saying, this is the miss's blood for today. Concubine Yin, you must take your medicine properly. She would never get better. Because I had poisoned it. Since she was pretending to be sick, I would grant her wish. Lu Shishi's face grew uglier by the day. She complained of pain to win his affection. At first, Song Jing would console her. If you're sick, then take your medicine. But the disgust on his face was glaringly obvious. The poison had seeped into her bones. She began to waste away. Her cheeks sunken, her skin sallow, her once stunning beauty was gone, replaced by a withered, ghost-like face. A maid reported, the eldest young master is in concubine Yin's room. He said he's not coming. Lu Shishi crawled out of bed, her claw-like hands scratching at the maid. My husband loves me the most. How could he not come? It must be that slut. That slut must have been sowing discord. Is that it? She raged, yanking a hairpin from her hair to punish the maid, but pulled out a handful of her own hair in the process, which fell to the floor. I heard the end of it from the doorway and walked in. The young master said to ask concubine Lu to come over. The maid bowed and left. I half-dragged, half-supported Lu Shishi to the door of Song Jing's room, but didn't let her go in. Inside the room, Song Jing was holding a beauty in his arms, the two of them moaning loudly. Vows of undying love flowed like they were free. My dearest Yin, I love you to death. Of course, you are my favorite. No one can compare. Yu Yinyan panted and giggled. Song Jing's voice became clearer. Lu Shishi? Ha, she's so depressing now. It makes one lose their appetite. In the heat of the moment, Song Jing promised Yu Yinyan a lifetime of love with only each other. And even said that once he divorced my lady, he would make her his official wife. Lu Shishi stood outside the window, trembling all over, her teeth chattering. I pulled the gold hairpin from her hair and pressed it into her hand. I said softly, if it weren't for that slut Yu Yinyan, why would the eldest young master neglect you? It's a pity you fell ill for his sake. Yet he has found a new love. Concubine Lu, I truly feel sorry for you. If only she weren't here. The next moment, Lu Shishi, clutching the hairpin, rushed into the room like a madwoman. The two on the bed were lost in passion and hadn't yet reacted. Lu Shishi pounced on them, the hairpin in her hand plunging fiercely into Yu Yinyan's chest. Slut, slut, go to hell, she screamed, stabbing again and again. Blood spurted out, instantly soaking the bedsheets. Lu Shishi didn't stop until Yu Yinyan was dead. I stood outside the window, a cold smile on my face, then turned and left. Song Jing, stark naked, watched as Lu Shishi killed someone in front of him. When he came to his senses, he kicked her fiercely. Lu Shishi slammed into a corner table, her head bleeding profusely. When she woke up, she was already in a separate courtyard, left to fend for herself. Feeling sorry for her, I brought her 2 steamed buns. Lu Shishi was curled up in a corner, her clothes in tatters, her face as pale as a ghost. I sighed. She was surprisingly resilient. You bitch, it was all your fault. You incited me, she cursed at me. But she was dying, and her voice was faint. I threw the buns on the ground and crushed them with my foot. That's right, it was me, I said bluntly. I squatted down to look at her, my eyes frank. I was the one who handed you the hairpin. Not only that, I also stole your doo-doo and paid a man to frame you. Look how ugly you are now. I was also the one who tampered with your shoes. Lu Shishi's eyes widened in disbelief. I laughed arrogantly, a twisted excitement welling up inside me. I am a villain. I just wanted to tell her the truth before she died and enjoy the shock on my enemy's face when they learned the truth. It was incredibly satisfying. You bitch. She could only curse me. Unable to move, I had already stood up, taken out a white silk sash, and thrown it over a beam. I turned back and smiled sweetly. Concubine Lu, have a safe journey. The next day, people would only find that she had committed suicide out of guilt. On my way back from the separate courtyard, I was in a good mood. I went to the market and bought the Mrs. favorite pastries. When I reached the gate of the Marquise's mansion, a young servant rushed out, his face full of panic. Miss Choeui, where have you been? It was Song Jing's young servant. My heart sank. What's wrong? The young miss has been beaten. With no women around him, Song Jing had gotten drunk during the day and, upon returning, insisted on dragging the miss to his room. When she refused, he beat her. None of the servants dared to enter the room. Finally, it was Song Ji who heard the screams and went in to save the miss. When I entered the east courtyard, a familiar smell of blood hit me. I hurried over, the short distance feeling unsteady. The miss was curled up on the bed, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth, and splinters of wood in her hair. She was already unconscious. Miss, I called out softly. Song Ji, standing to the side, said, I've already sent for a doctor. He'll be here soon. Given Miss Yang's condition, it's best not to move her for now. Thank you, second young master, I said numbly, looking at the miss's closed eyes. I sighed heavily. I had finally gotten rid of 2 concubines. If only Song Jing could treat the miss with single-minded devotion. That would be great. Why couldn't he just make things easier for me? I really don't want the miss to be a widow. News of Song Jing beating the miss reached the Marquis and the old madam. The Marquis flew into a rage and was about to beat Song Jing. But the old madam stopped him with her own life. The old madam said nonchalantly, It takes 2 to clap. Is Zhang Wanning completely blameless? Otherwise, Jinger wouldn't have hit her. She had always disliked Song Ji and used this as an opportunity to berate him as well, calling him shameless for daring to enter his sister-in-law's room. The matter was dropped. In September, the imperial family held an autumn hunt. All sons of noble families could attend with their wives. My chance had come. The miss was covered in injuries and couldn't possibly go out. Song Jing flew into a rage and raised his hand to hit her again. I quickly stepped in to stop him and suggested that I go in the miss's place. Young master, I have often disguised myself as the miss when going out before. No one will notice. Only then was Song Jing placated. My face and body shape were similar to the miss's. Once I put on her clothes and a veil, the resemblance was even stronger. The miss leaned against a chair, her face pale, tears of worry streaming down. Choeui, my husband has a bad temper. I'm afraid. I smiled and reassured her. Don't worry, miss. There will be so many people at the hunting grounds. The young master won't dare to hit me. You just stay in the mansion and rest well. Along the way, Song Jing's eyes roamed over me, and he kept trying to touch me. I lowered my eyebrows and, like a frightened little rabbit, whispered, "Young master." He only moved closer. "We're pretending to be husband and wife. We have to make it look real. I didn't expect you to look so fetching when you're dressed up." His hand grew bolder, resting on my leg. He said that when we returned, he would take me as his concubine, and the two of us, master and servant, would serve him together. I suppressed a laugh and said, "Yes, if he wanted to take me as a concubine, he would have to have the life to do it." Song Jing rode into the forest with the other young noblemen. I sat with the other ladies, chatting idly. After a while, I feigned dizziness. I stood up, supporting myself. "Ladies, I'm feeling a bit dizzy from the sun. I'm going to take a walk." No one suspected anything. When I returned, the hunting ground was in chaos. Everyone was whispering. They said the crown prince had been shot with an arrow. Fortunately, Song Ji had shielded him, and the arrow had pierced his shoulder. So the crown prince only suffered a scratch. The assailant had shot the arrow and fled. At this moment, the imperial guards were searching everywhere, and no one was allowed to leave. Just then, Song Ji rode back, his quiver empty. Hearing that the crown prince was injured, he sneered, his face full of disdain. What a weakling. But the next moment, his smile vanished. The imperial guards rushed over and surrounded Song Jing. "How dare you, Song Jing, assassinate the crown prince?" The commander of the imperial guards held up an arrowhead, on which the character, Jing, was clearly carved. This was a rule of the hunt, to identify who killed what prey. Everyone used arrows marked with their names, each one unique. Song Jing's face changed drastically. I didn't. It wasn't me. After Song Jing was thrown into the great prison, the marquise's mansion was in turmoil. The old madam was so anxious she went grey overnight, begging the marquis, "Save Jinger. Please save Jinger. How could he possibly assassinate the crown prince? It must have been an accident. It's the crown prince's fault for being too slow to dodge. Jinger is innocent." After crying, she turned and glared at Song Ji, her eyes full of resentment. "It's all your fault. You jinx. Why didn't you block the arrow properly and let the crown prince get hurt?" Song Ji's face was pale. The wound on his shoulder was still bleeding. He lowered his head and humbly admitted his fault. "It is my fault." The marquis looked at him, a rare hint of fatherly pity in his eyes. He turned and roared at the old madam. "You shut up. I think the one Jinger wanted to kill was Song Ji. You two, mother and son, just wish he were dead." Song Jing was tortured in prison but still refused to admit to assassinating the crown prince. The case reached a stalemate. I was getting a bit of a headache. Without more evidence, it would be difficult to get Song Jing killed. The old madam learned that her son was being tortured and was covered in wounds. She cried every day. As the new year approached, she was so distraught that she almost fell down the steps. I quickly rushed forward and caught her. My eyes turned red, and tears streamed down. "Old madam, the punishments in the prison are so severe. If the young master can't get out, he will surely die in there. My lady has only just married into the family." The old madam started crying too. I sighed softly and said in a low voice, "The young master is clearly innocent. Why must he suffer such torture? If only someone could take his place." The old madam suddenly stopped crying, a glint in her eyes. I had said enough and didn't say more. On New Year's Eve, a major incident occurred at the Ministry of Justice's prison. Someone had bribed the guards and swapped Song Jing with a death row inmate. Just as he reached the city gates and was tearfully reuniting with the old madam, he was caught on the spot by the crown prince. The charge of escaping from prison was now firmly established, and the one who had tipped off the crown prince was Song Ji. Song Ji looked regretful. "Mother, you were foolish." The crown prince was furious. At his command, clubs rained down mercilessly on Song Jing. No matter how miserable Song Jing had been in prison, it was all official interrogation. But out on the street, it was a private grudge. Under the hail of blows, Song Jing's blood flowed freely, and he screamed in agony. The old madam watched as her beloved son was beaten, then rolled her eyes back and fainted. The crown prince had no intention of letting him live. He had him beaten to death on the spot. When the miss and I went to collect the body, Song Jing was still breathing his last. The miss couldn't bear to look and hid to the side, sobbing quietly. I squatted down, pushed aside his bloody hair. and whispered in his ear, "Young master, my archery skills are accurate from 100 paces. Am I not amazing?" Song Jing's eyes instantly widened, and a hee-hee sound came from his throat. "My miss is such a good person. Why did you have to hit her? Couldn't you have just behaved? I was the one who shot the arrow at the crown prince. The one thing in my life I have to thank my father for is forcing me to practice archery and hunting. From beginning to end, this was a plot between me and Song Ji. I wanted Song Jing dead, and Song Ji wanted the title of Marquis. We each got what we wanted. Song Jing died with his eyes wide open, refusing to close them. I enjoyed his miserable, unresigned state for a while before closing his eyes for him. The old madam was the mastermind behind the prison swap. The old Marquis, in a fit of rage, divorced her. The Empress Dowager, overcome with grief, had a stroke and was left paralyzed. The Marquis's mansion changed overnight. The old Marquis passed the title of Marquis Zhongyang to Song Ji and retired to recuperate. Because Song Ji had saved the crown prince's life and reported Song Jing's escape, the Marquis's mansion was not implicated. On the contrary, it gained the crown prince's favor. My poor miss became a widow at such a young age. But Song Ji said he wanted to marry my miss. Upon hearing this, the miss's face instantly turned red. In the end, it happened. It wasn't uncommon for a younger brother to marry his elder brother's wife. And besides, the miss was still a virgin, so there was nothing wrong with it. Song Ji was steady and had no bad habits. He was considered a good match. I was quite satisfied. Master Zhang and his wife were afraid the miss would be tormented again and disagreed at first. They couldn't make up their minds and asked for my opinion. I nodded and said with a smile, "I think it's a good idea." Only then were they relieved. On the wedding night, I waited with the miss in the bridal chamber. It was her second time wearing a wedding dress, and she was even more nervous than the first time. Her fingers tightly clutching my sleeve, her face flushed with shyness. It wasn't until footsteps sounded outside the door that I said, "Miss, the young master is here. I must go out now." I stood up and pushed the door open. The moment I turned to close it, the smile on my face gradually faded. I looked up. I wish the Marquis and the miss a harmonious union and a long life together. "Young master, my miss is a very good person. You must treat her well." Song Ji looked at me, his expression unreadable. "Of course, I am ruthless. He is wary of me, but he will not kill me, because he knows that as long as he treats the miss well, our interests are aligned. I can be his blade. If he doesn't treat the miss well, then my only choice is to make her a widow once more. It's so hard to find a good young master." End of story. Thanks for watching.